Hi everyone, it's Cant here from Enterprise Lab. I hope you're well, and welcome to the next installment of the League of Disruptors Show. And boy oh boy do we have a great show lined up for you today. On the show live today is Amanda Watts. I'm going to get her to come in and tell you more about who she is and what she does very, very shortly. But just a little bit of a background to Amanda here. A leading authority in marketing and startup here in the UK. She's a best-selling author, a book called Escape, which I'm sure she's going to tell you a lot more about as well very, very soon. And above and beyond that, a lot of the work that she's been doing has been helping corporate employees fulfill their lives of freedom and ambition and desire and everything that they possibly want to do, from escaping the rat race of just daily churn of work. That's why I've appropriately titled today's episode about creating a life of freedom. Amanda, welcome to the League of Disruptors Show. Hello.
Hello. Thank you for having me on. It's very exciting.
Yeah, how are you doing today? How's your day been?
Yeah, my day's been good. We're talking about a life of freedom. The kids had an inset day, so it's been juggling kids and work. So fantastic.
Juggling kids and work. I'm sure there's quite a few people that'll be watching this either live or pre-recorded that have that same sort of problem or issue from time to time. Just a quick thing on that. I mean, with the kids having the day off, I mean, when they have their half term and their holidays, I mean, it must be quite a balancing act to put together when you're having to run a business, work, and then handle the kids as well. Is that?
Yeah, super blessed. So I set my business up in 2009, and the children were 5 and 8, and when I set up my business I kind of trained them to understand that mummy works. So a lot of the time is, I've got an office now. When I first started my business I didn't have an office, but what we do is the children know that they have to be quiet if I'm on Skype calls. If I'm not on Skype calls, then they're allowed to mill about and do what they want, but what we tend to do is give them a couple of hours of our time and then we work, and they understand that. They understand that that's, if they want Christmas, mummy has to work.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. So obviously everyone knows now that you are you have children, and so it will be probably appropriate time for you to introduce yourself to everyone. Tell everyone who you are, what you do, and how you got there, I guess.
Absolutely. So I am Amanda C. Watts, and thank you for having me on the show. I am what I call a freedompreneur, and this is a term that I coined actually not long ago, about a year and a half ago it was, because it slowly dawned on me that I hadn't created a coaching business or a training business. What I'd done is create a life of freedom for myself. And the reason why I did that was because of the babies, because of the children. When I started my business, I was a single mum. I was on housing benefit. I'd come out of a horrible relationship, and I had to make money. And I had two options. I could either go and get a job, go back to the corporate world and work from 7 in the morning till 11 at night, or I could go and get a part-time job and earn no money and be stuck on minimum wage, or I could find a way where I could weave my children into something that I really enjoy as well, and actually try and create a future rather than just exist day to day, which is what so many people do. So set up business, gave it a go, struggled horrendously, got help, started to have some success, and realized that actually, unlike most people, I had a really good life. I had a really good life of freedom, and then I realized that that's what I wanted to teach other people to do as well.
Amazing. It's interesting because I mean, I have an ex-corporate background myself, and it wasn't. I mean, obviously, you left work or corporate life to have your children and stuff, and then you have that kind of decision base of what do I do? Do I return back to work? Just as you said, I was more of a victim of the economic crisis in 2008, 2009, and it's my kind of back against the wall type of decision. Do I try and find another job, or do I try and create one? It's interesting how you start to build these options that you have. Oh, I go back to do the 7 to 11, or do I try and do a minimum wage and balance and act with the family? And then all of a sudden this option appears that do I try and create my own business and work and live on my own terms. This is something that people often don't. They may think about it, or it may come up in their heads, but they don't really dwell on it, because I guess they think, oh, I could never do that, or that's not right for me. What, you know, could you give me a little bit more background on, you know, how you felt when you were thinking about that, and what was it doing to you, in the sense of the more you start to think about potentially starting your own business, what was going on there? You know, were you kind of anxious, excited? You know, what was going on?
I think for myself, I am super lucky that I have quite a lot of self-belief, and that comes from where I've been brought up and the way my family has always believed in me. I had a horrible time at school. I had a horrible childhood, terribly picked on at school. But what made me, by the time I came out of school, I was super resilient. So there were two key things, self-belief and resilience, that if you've got those, setting up a business is kind of, well, I'll give it a go and see what happens. Because actually, worst case scenario is you go back to that job, or you go back to the minimum wage if you are trying to juggle around children, which so many of us mums have to do, and dads as well. They can't go back to the stress of life beforehand. I think I was very lucky, but I've been knocked many times, and if I didn't have that self-belief and that resilience, I would have gone running back to a day job. But kind of when you have no option, you just go for it. And a lot of my clients come to me when they've been made redundant because they have no option. So they're in their late 40s, early 50s, they've been made redundant, and they're like, I can't go and get a job again. And it's like, well, that's really good, because now you can start a business and it's going to be much better anyway. Who wants a job?
No, absolutely. You know, why don't we just create our own jobs? I think, you know, I think I want to touch base a little bit about this kind of I can't go back. Or, you know, sometimes I think it's I won't go back either. I think, you know, the way in which entrepreneurship and owning your own business has been broadcasted over the last sort of 5 or 6 years, there's been a major turn in the amount of people trying to start up their own businesses and stuff. It's almost like it's super cool to have a business, and I often kind of get concerned with the fact that people are only seeing the tip of the iceberg in that respect. And the other side to this is the motivations behind it. Like you said, you have a lot of people that will come to you when they've got into a situation whereby they've lost their jobs, or they're going to be made redundant, and they're kind of trying to look forward. Potentially you've got some that are in their mid-50s potentially and saying, right, I want to now leave corporate life. I don't want to just pick up a pension. I want to maybe create a lifestyle business or something as such. But this whole thing about can't and won't, I mean, do you, you know, from the surface of things, it sounds like most people are coming with a sort of a sense of direction, but do you often find a lot of the people that you work with are a little bit misguided, or you need to unearth this whole, are you sure this is what you want to do, or is it, you know, that can't and won't thing really?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a massive learning curve for me still every single day, because I get some clients that go, well, I see, as you said, entrepreneurship is like the holy grail. Everybody wants to be an entrepreneur, and everybody wants to run their own business because it looks easy. It looks like it's a few Facebook Lives every single day. People saying, you know, people doing Facebook updates and playing on Instagram and going on Snapchat and having those funny faces, and, oh yeah, people are going to buy from you. That actually is not the real life of an entrepreneur. That's what we see, but the background of the successful people is it's a lot of hard work, it's a lot of failures, it's failing many times. And I've taken on clients myself that have gone, oh, I want what you're offering, and I go, yes, okay, and then they don't take action, and they don't actually do it with systems and methods, and they don't put together all, and it's like sales funnels, they don't put those together, and they don't get their head around that, and then what happens is they're back in that day job, or they're like, oh, I can't do it, or I'm struggling to earn £1,000 a month, and it makes me so sad. And you have to have the right personality, because being an entrepreneur like we are, and like many of our friends and our peers out there, actually we're no different from the very successful entrepreneurs like Richard Branson. We still have to have those same traits. Yes. And if we don't have them, I'm not saying that we are him, but what I'm saying is we have to have those traits to have the success. And if you don't have them, you're not going to have the success. It's hard.
No, absolutely. In fact, just before I sort of go in there, for those of you that are watching this live, we are taking questions for Amanda. So you've got a good 45 minutes of Amanda's brain here. So please take advantage of it and ask the questions that you want to ask in this regard. But coming back to what you just mentioned about someone like Richard Branson, I think Branson's always been put into this whole pinnacle position of the ultimate entrepreneur. He's kind of living this amazing life. Again, I think there's a lot of this whole looking at the peak of the iceberg as opposed to what's underneath. It's taken Branson decades to get to where he is. If
you read his book, many times he has either sold because he's on the verge of bankruptcy, he's lost his loves, his life has been horrendous, he's been living with nothing, he's had to ask favors of people, and he's just failure after failure after failure. And he looks successful. But the other thing that I'd like to highlight is that we're doing this, and this is what we love doing, but only 5%, people talk about setting up a business around passion, only 5% of what we do is based on our passion. The rest is just running a business.
Oh, I love that because one of the things that I talk a lot about with my clients when I give keynotes and stuff is I say passion's not enough these days with business. Passion's the kind of thing that gets you up in the morning or gets you to work or gets you to the computer or whatever it is that at that moment in time. I'm kind of a believer that you need to have a sense of anger for the industry that you're working within. And what I mean by that is I kind of use the whole metaphor of those that go into the gym to sculpt their bodies. There is repetition in there in what they're doing, but at some point they use things like creatine to force aggression, and that aggression allows them to push and drive a lot harder. So actually knowing that only 5% of its passion, and I suppose 95%, the remaining 95% is based on drive and ability and comprehension, competency, all these kind of things. I just want to come back a little bit to when you're mentioning about what makes you really sad when people are kind of struggling to make that £1,000 a month and stuff like this. This whole expectation of starting up a business and being able to go in and all of a sudden there's a ready-made queue of customers waiting to buy you. It's almost, oh my God, Amanda, I was just waiting for you to turn up. And it is this whole facade that we do have, especially with the fact that we've got things like social media, which is so active now. Our TVs are becoming the radio of communication today, and media, and our smartphones are becoming more our new TVs. I think it's really important that we do try and address the kind of the underbelly of those icebergs that we're talking about. And whilst I don't really want to take this time up to really go through what pain and failure is all about, I think I think with what you do and the way you do things in terms of creating a life of freedom, you must be taking your clients through this whole pain process for their realization. So would it be okay for you to share a little bit more about how the world of freedompreneur actually works, so some of our audiences can get an experience?
Absolutely. So I do not promote a 4-hour work week or a laptop lifestyle. That doesn't come in to what I mean by freedompreneur. And I'm not just someone who promotes if you've got children, start a business. It's not about that. It's about freedom is whatever it means to you. So for us as a family, it means that we don't start work until the kids go to school. They leave school at 14 minutes past 8 and we're in the office at 15 minutes past 8. Okay, so freedom for us is they finish school at 3:30, so at 20 to 4 we stop work till 7 o'clock till they go to bed, and then we start work again. Wow. Okay, so it's not about we only work 2 or 3 hours a week. What it is about is that we work around our passions, our loves, and everything that we want to have in a business. So we take August off, we take a lot of December off because we spend it with the children, but the rest of the time we work like buggery, like fury. We really do.
Absolutely.
It's to have a life of freedom is hard work. What I do try and get my clients to do is to weave in their passions. So one of my clients, Barry, he's a leadership coach and he loves his boat. So we're weaving in how he can use his boat in his leadership training. For example, he loves to go sailing. So that's where freedom comes in for him to be able to do that. It's about, what do you love? How can you weave it into your business? Because you have to work bloody hard to have success. But if you don't have children, can you have a purely online business so you can go on holiday and travel and have a Skype call in between looking at the Sistine Chapel or whatever kind of thing? Can you leave it in? So it's not the holy grail of 4-hour work weeks, because I don't believe in that.
No, that's amazing, because it's so refreshing to hear it from the other extreme. I think, it's almost drilled into us about yes, you've got to work and you've got to work hard, and we hear such words as hustle and grind these days. I was talking to Brad Burton earlier this week when I was interviewing for the magazine, and I asked him about the words hustle, and he goes all these people that wake up at 4:30 in the morning to hustle. He goes, I'm still in bed.
But I'm cuddling my kids in bed. I'm not hustling.
But I guess what I'm getting to here is there's a psychological thing about working and fitting around your normal life, your personal life, in the fact that whether whether it is, like you say, 8:14 the kids go, and then 8:15 we're in the office, and to switch off at 3:30 or whenever it is to do whatever it is, and take the month of August off. Having that kind of plan, it kind of almost desensitizes you from this whole pressure of, oh my god, I've got to put 18 hours in, and then I never see my loved ones in this kind of situation. So what I guess I'm getting to is quite refreshing to feel that you kind of get people to focus on what's important to them first, and it's not their business that's the most important part, it's their life. Which is very, very interesting, because a lot of people, if I was to sort of ask them, when you're in business, what I'm doing 18-hour days, I'm very, very busy, and I'm like, okay. I mean, I'm a victim of this myself, I'll be honest with you. I work from home just like yourself. Yeah. When I can, I only go into London when I need to go into London and places like that. I travel a lot, I do a lot of international stuff, so I'm away for quite a lot of the time. But the reason I do the rest of the work from home is then, because I've got those little passes with my wife basically now and then. It's just a quick cup of coffee, the kids come home, like the kids have just come home from school just now, myself, and I'm like thinking, right, okay, 5 o'clock, laptop down, and away we go. But it kind of gives me this sense that I don't feel like I'm neglecting on the other side. So it means all of a sudden half of my struggle is being released from my head. How much do you get people coming into your walking into your sort of agency and coming to you that actually still have this solid mindset that no, it's just I've got to focus and just do this thing in business, and my family can come later? And do you feel that do you find it's challenging to move their attitude and perception of that? Because I get the sense that you will only start working with them on how that business will grow once you've got confidence that they understand how they're going to balance everything around. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, by the time people are seeking me out, they are there's one of three things. They're either burnt out in their corporate job, they're lost all passion for it and disillusioned, or basically they're so stressed that they cannot cope at all. And when they come to me with those things, they're actually saying to me, can you save my life? Almost. It's like, yes, okay, I see business as a way to bring in money, but if I don't sort this out, I'm going to lose my children, I'm going to lose my wife, and I'm going to lose my life, and I'm going to look back and it's going to be horrendous. So people, they do get attracted by the two words I use, which are escape and freedompreneur, and they want to escape their day job. They don't quite understand what a freedompreneur is because they're not entrepreneurs yet, they're not in our world, but that's okay. I train them very, very quickly.
No, that's really great. I mean, I get the sense that sometimes also, because of the type of clients that you have coming in, or the people that come to you, especially if they've come from a corporate background, they tend to maybe have a little bit of savings scrapped up, and they have that affordability. I mean, one of the biggest problems that we have with the startup market is a lot of people choose to start a business, or because they feel like they don't have any other choice, which is fine. But usually they have this kind of this drive or soul motivation that I need to earn money. And you know, we're often saying that your motivation has to be around value rather than money, and the money follows. But it's very hard to break that mold. Have you had instances of clients that have actually, I'm totally broke, as much as I'm thinking I'm losing my life, my wife, and my kids? And what have you done to help them get into the zone first?
Yeah, what's very, very difficult is when you don't have money, just like you say, you end up chasing money. And that becomes your number one driver for getting out. So what happens, it's like, can you give me the quick fix? Can you give me the quick fix? And when they're in that kind of mindset, actually the business doesn't work, because they're forever chasing, going, please buy my stuff, please buy my stuff. I want someone to buy from me now. And it doesn't work because you're in that fighting mode. So most of my clients that I take on, I say, stay in your day job. And then after a couple of months, they're like, I'm so excited, I want to leave. I'm like, can you afford to? And they're like, no, I can't yet. And I said, well, stay in your day job, because actually it's not about making that leap and being an entrepreneur and being poor. It's, they've got mortgages to pay. They've got, they've got holidays that they still want to have. And I say that you need to know two numbers. The first one's your freedom number. So how much do you need to earn so that you can actually pay your mortgage, buy food, and just about scrape by? And then your second one is your success number. So if you have a successful business, how much do you really want to, think big? And I say, work towards your freedom number. When you're bringing in your freedom number, then make the leap, unless you have savings, of course.
Amazing. That's it's just so simple, and when you say it like that. And I think, more people should really look into this. I mean, I just want to. I'm going to come to your book in a second, but just before I go there, I want to talk to you a little bit about how your sort of opinion and your attitude towards the way in which people, especially when they are wanting to start up a business or they have started a business, have this tendency to look at their next door neighbor's business and kind of almost be like, oh well, they've got all the things going on, they have all of this going on, so I've got to copy what they do, because obviously, and just to add to this, because I'm just that kind of guy that asks 6 questions at the same time. So the first part about is the distraction and the noise that people that are moving into this type of space experience. And the second thing is very much about systems. I'm a believer that a success system that an entrepreneur has produced, whether it's a Tony Robbins or even for yourself, you've produced a system for yourself. It's your system. It belongs to you. You've authenticated it. You've produced it, and it works for you. How important is it for people who are in these environments where they're trying to learn from others, which we encourage, that they need to personalize those systems for themselves? One thing that I say to people is they've come to me, so they've been researching the market, which means they've been watching for a while. Probably 9 times out of 10 they've been watching for a while. The first thing I do is get them to unsubscribe from everybody. So it's like, stop watching. And it's exactly what I do. So I will have a coach, and I'll have a coach for a year or two, or I will have someone that I follow for a year or two, and I won't follow anybody else, because everyone has their own systems and their own methodology. And as long as you end up following the right person, if you implement that system, it will probably work. But if you take a little bit of one person, a little bit of another, and you think, right, I'm going to do webinars, but I'm going to do Facebook Lives, and I think I'm going to do a little bit of this, and I'm going to have events, and I'm going to do this. They don't see what goes on in the background. And it's the stuff that goes on in the background that actually is the magic that makes your business work. And the other thing as well is people look successful on Facebook, but I've looked at it and I know that they're not successful. They're just really good at having a strong brand. And what we need to do is make sure that people aren't following the wrong people as well. So if I've got a new client, I say, stop watching everybody else. I don't want to hear about it. Don't look at your competitors. Don't look at anybody else. Just do as you're told. Implement it, and it will work. That's just, I'm kind of a bit bossy like that. I'm going to change your name from Amanda C. Watts to Amanda C. Whipcracker, I think.
Exactly. And that's my attitude. If it's shiny, that, if you end up coming to me and going, oh, I saw so-and-so do this, can you show me how to do it? No, it's not in the plan.
Amazing. So guys, listen, we're live with Amanda C. Watts, aka Amanda C. Whipcracker, aka Freedompreneur Extraordinaire, the woman that'll tell you that you got to switch all your noise out, just listen to what she says, you know, and you can actually create the freedom that you desire. Any questions that you have for Amanda, please get them into us. We've got a couple of people that are saying hey and what's up and stuff. Carmen, it's great to see you online. Anthony from the US, we've got another Anthony from France, that's great. Beiju's online, good to see you. Lisa, Bav, nice to see you online. James Porritt, great to see you as well. David Roberts, hey, just saw this on Facebook, thought I'd give it a watch. That's what you do. That's what you do. Listening to the expertise here. And Anna, it's nice to see you. Please get your questions in. We're going to be online for another sort of 25 minutes or so. So Amanda, yes. The book. Before we go into what the book's about, I want you to first give us the experience of putting this book together, because I think all of it, you know, this over the last 2 or 3 years as well, I've seen this sudden push that everyone needs to become an author. What you know, how long did it take you to put this book together, and what did it take to put this book together?
Okay, so 2012 I specialised in helping restaurateurs get bums on seats, basically. So I wrote a book for restaurateurs. I didn't have a name for it, but it was very similar. The methodology was very, very similar to the one that I use now. But I wrote nearly 50,000 words and never published it. So I've still got it in a manual here. And I never published it. And I did that. I went on Daniel Priestley's Key Person of Influence program, which is where I met a great network of people. And in this program, he says, write a book. So I wrote a book, and it didn't really sit very well with me. And then I wrote another one about a year later when I changed my niche. And again, you fail. So I hated working with the restaurateurs. I didn't enjoy it. They had no money. They would come to you when literally their business was going under, and it's very difficult when a business is going under to work with them. So then I wrote another book. And again, it was when I was going through a little bit of a spirituality stage, so I was exploring that side of me, and it was a little bit, I call it woo-woo in the most, you know, respectful way, and again, it wasn't quite authentic to me. So what I was doing over the past couple of years is I wrote books, but they weren't right, but I was getting my methodology honed, and I was learning a lot from it. And then I just woke up one day and said, right, I'm ready to write my book, and I literally wrote it in a matter of weeks. Because I'd played around so much before that when it was right, I woke up and went, aha, got it, done. And it went literally from October, and then it was all sorted. By Christmas, it was with the publishers, front cover done and sorted. So when it's right, it's right.
Well, yeah, because I remember you posted some videos during that kind of run up to the book, and I can recall quite distinctly you had a video when there was a box that had appeared and you were cutting the box open and everything. What was I know it's exciting. It says, do you know when the book got published, and you know you got a stack of them on, you know, in a box waiting to be opened. Apart from the feeling of excitement, what else were you feeling? Let me qualify what we mean by excitement as well. Is excitement because my hard work was given to me and put in my hand, but also the anticipation of what the future held. Because when you write a book, you are sold the holy grail that it is the way to have success. So, of course, as you're opening it, you're like, this is my future. You know, I'm going to share everything with people. It's going to change their lives, but it's also going to change mine. Okay, let's just be clear about that. We don't just write books for everybody. We write books because we want to be an author and we want to be seen as the authority, which is a big thing that I'm a big believer in. And so it was the anticipation and the excitement about what my future holds. But also, my grandfather was an editor for the Daily Sketch, and he used to edit a lot of books. And he's been a big driver in my life for success. He passed away when I was 15, but I always wanted to do something that made him proud. And when I got my book, I was like, wow, he'd be super chuffed that I've written a book, because it's what our family come from with regards to proofreading and editorial and all that kind of thing, and publishing. So yeah, it was a big mixture of feelings, and it wasn't just about, oh my God, I've got a book. Some people will be like, "Oh, finally, it's arrived." But it's
I know. That's how I feel.
Exactly. So, for those of you who are watching and listening into this, Amanda's book is called Escape. Is that correct?
It is. It's Escape.
It's called Escape. And so, tell us some juicy bits about your book.
Okay. Well, it's split into 6 parts.
Mm-hmm.
The first one is about mindset. So as our conversation started, actually, the first thing you naturally spoke to me about, which new entrepreneurs don't realize, startup businesses, whatever you want to call yourself, self-employed, they don't realize that you have to get the mindset right. And I am a big believer in working hard. Some people call it hustle. Some people just call it, project hustle, whatever it is that you want to be. I believe that if you're focused, that's working hard. Yeah. Okay. It's having the right mindset. It's having the ability to have a growth mindset. So I don't know everything. So the moment I don't know the answer to something, rather than feel crappy about it, I go, how can I learn about it? So I either ask someone, I have a coach, I belong to programs, and I learn like fury. So I have to, in the beginning bit, is these are certain things that you need to know, and these are certain things that you need to do. So you need to have a growth mindset, you need to step outside your bubble, step outside your comfort zone, all that kind of thing. And then it goes into the 5 stages of being super clear on who your market is, knowing how to talk to that market, how to actually turn, instead of charging by the hour and charging, it's going to cost £50 an hour to work with me as a coach or trainer. It's about packaging up your services that are full of value. And then it goes into marketing and positioning yourself as an authority. And then, as you said, remember systems? You were talking about systems and having systems. You have to have systems and methods and measure what you do to have success. It's not a game. So it is literally, it's a manual, a definitive guide, as we say, to take you from making the leap to having a successful business. You have that book itself, it will help you dramatically. And you can definitely read the book before you pay for any coach or do any coaching of any kind, because that knowledge is power, and then you can go into working with someone with your eyes open.
Yeah, no, I think that's amazing. I just want to pick up on a few bits there that you pick up. Obviously, we talked about mindset already, and let's move forward into this whole element of what I liked where you said about packaging and talking to the market. Obviously, knowing who your market is very, very clear is going to be important, because at the end of the day, if you're trying to sell roller skates to 90-year-olds, you're going to get it's going to be a very small market that you're going for. But essentially, I sometimes get the impression, and I give a couple of talks on disruptive marketing, and I have this whole theory base that there are 4 sort of principal traits or 4 different customers in that particular order of their attitude, and the behavior will then determine the type of action that you'll take with them. But before we kind of look at attitudes and behaviors of a customer, it's actually understanding the way you engage with that person, because you mentioned the word specifically, talk to the market. When you mean that, what do you mean? Is it the way in which you speak? Is it the tonality? Is it to the way you approach? Because this is the bit I think sometimes businesses get wrong. They think that they just got to create one sort of campaign in one direction, in one particular dimension, and then off they go. And it's almost like casting a massive net out into the sea. They're fishing for I don't know, lobsters, and they end up catching dolphins and whales, kind of thing. So what, just talk us through a little bit about the importance and how you get to talk to your customers correctly.
Okay, so I am a big believer in the word niche, and for your American listeners, niche. The niche. Yes, I'm a big believer in that, and I have had many failures when I've gone, it's okay, my brand is big enough, I'm going to stop niching. Okay. Which really then what happens is the business goes down and down and down, because you're not talking to your ideal customer. The other thing I'd like to say actually is that not talking but listening to your customer.
Yeah.
Okay. It's very easy for me to say talk to your customer, because I know what I mean by that, but by the time I've spoken to my customer, I have studied them, I understand them. I know what their fears are, what their frustrations are, what their wants are, what their aspirations are. So when I speak to them, I'm actually using their language and speaking to them about their problems and their fears. I don't talk about myself. It's about, this is what you're going through. I understand what you're going through. I have a solution to this, and the solution is this outcome, not the logistics of what the solution is, by the way. But actually, I've been listening to you, and you've given me feedback, and I understand you as my customer, and I can help you. And that's what I mean by talking to your customer, I suppose, is listening to your customer.
Yeah, exactly that point. I have this whole thought process within myself that I believe customers know what they want today, purely because of the resources that we have around us, but it's our responsibility as business owners to give them what they need. And in order to do that, you have to listen, and it's not about you, it is about them. I just think sometimes we push out from I'm going to use the term incorrectly here, the authority. We believe we're the authority to just push on and say, you've got to buy us, and this is why we do it, and this is who we are, and this is what we can do for you, without actually really understanding where that customer is within their own journey. Often enough, I've had using things like listening, I find that we end up knowing the customer better than they know themselves, if that makes sense. And I think that's what's your sort of take or advice for people out there that feel like they're coming across, but maybe they're not getting their message across effectively, or perhaps they're overpassing the mark and they're overselling themselves. What would you tell to these guys?
So I would definitely say, and I've been here, is when you care about your customer, you try and fix them. And when you try and fix them, you actually break them more. So many people are sat on Facebook Lives spouting solutions to who they think are their ideal customers, and what's happening is you're not helping them because you're giving them a teeny tiny amount. They're going away thinking that that's the only thing they need to do, and then they're breaking even more. So I would say that the solution for speaking to your customer and helping people at different stages is to share your expertise, but decide where you are actually wanting to help them. So my ideal client is still in the day job. If they've made the leap, then they're super struggling and haven't done anything right. But my ideal client's still in their day job. So I'm going to talk to people who are, do you want to make the leap? I don't talk to people who have been struggling for 2 years. Yes, I can help them with exactly the same stuff, by the way, because they haven't done it right. But it's about choosing who you want to speak to and just speaking to that one person. Because if you throw mud, only some of it's going to stick. Or as you say, you're going to catch dolphins instead of whales, or whatever. Yeah.
All those metaphors and stuff. Actually, I always say if you throw mud, then you're going to have dirty hands. That's what I say.
Yeah. Dirty hands. Yuck.
So Denise Mortimer's just feedback saying huge value, Amanda, and thank you for that. So look, I want to move on to the next side of this, which is about systems. I know we talked a little bit about other people's systems and stuff like this. So we understand there is going to be a mindset. We understand now very much more about the points around knowing your customer, understanding your market, listening to that market more than speaking. The 2 eyes, 2 ears, and the 1 mouth syndrome kind of thing. Really addressing this whole, we understand what you want, but I know what you need type of thing. So I wouldn't want to be patronizing or condescending, but it's almost it's the proverbial GP that's prescribing the right medicine type of analogy there that we're talking about. Now, let's say we're in that position. Now, most of the people that will perhaps watch this type of live video are those that are trying to break through and create a life of freedom and living on their terms. Now, when it comes to systems, what are your top do's and don'ts?
Okay, so if you're going to do it more than once, create a system for it. Okay, if you have to do market research regularly, then create a framework on how you're going to do that market research. Don't just wing it. I'm a big believer that if I'm going to send a LinkedIn email and it's going to be a connecting email, it's the same LinkedIn email I send to everyone, and I tweak it slightly depending on their name and what they say in their profile. And by the way, this didn't happen at the beginning. It was only as we grew that we really needed to have the systems. And I'm super fortunate that we retired the husband, and he's been working in the business for a while. So he does a lot of the systems, because I am super messy and not so good at that side of things. But literally, if I have to do it, I have to create a system for it. Otherwise, it's just going to, because my brain works so quickly as well. If I don't capture it, it's gone. It's absolutely gone. So it's about having systems for capturing email details for people. It's about systems for emailing out once you've captured those. It's about having systems on how you're going to pick up the telephone and what you need to say and how quickly you're going to get back to people. It's having a manual. Basically, if you can put your business into a manual, you can outsource everything, which again gives you that life of freedom.
Amazing, because in fact, ironically, that's one of the first companies that I started. After being made redundant, I went self-employed, and then this kind of tube light switched on in my head, and I thought, well, I'm not the only one that's lost their job. Why not create a self-employment agency, which is a glorified outsource? Outsourcing is probably one of the most fluid ways of actually getting out there. I mean, I had a colleague, Zana Giuska, on this morning, and a question was posed to her about the bureaucracy of starting a business in Romania, and because she's from Romania herself. And it's very much the same example where she said, you know, even I could just about barely afford it, but I understood some parts of this. The rest of it I just gave to someone who could do it quicker, faster, leaner and better than me. So there's an element of your system that also needs you to stay in your area of expertise as well. But how important is it that you do understand the processes of each of these other systems? So, you know, like you say, I mean, your husband and partner does all of the system side of things, but you surely you still have this grasp of the concept of what's going on in this, because I think sometimes people become a little bit oblivious to it, and they just think, oh, okay, whatever the designer's doing, they're doing, and whatever whatever the email guy's doing is doing, and whatever the copywriter is doing. And it's not a sense of I'm a great leader now because I'm delegating. You've got right. I am right in saying you must have some scope of what the hell's going on, otherwise you're destined for multiple system meltdown, are you? Absolutely.
And I'm a bit of a control freak, so I believe that freedom comes when you are in control. By the way, I'm a big believer in that. So I do check everything. What I used to know 2 years ago when I used to do it myself, I don't know now. So I've forgotten how to use the databases, but I certainly check things that go out. I make sure, and the days that I don't check it are the ones when there's mistakes. And then I kick myself, and it's like, oh, I left it, but I shouldn't have done. I should have checked it. So I think that a great leader is someone that passes something over, but still has an idea of what's going on in their business. When it comes to design, I love design. It's not my expertise, but you will find me wasting time on design. But I have a lovely designer that gets me, and I send it to her, and she delivers it back for me very quickly. But I keep an eye on everything.
I think it's interesting you say that, you know, you love design. I think maybe, and whilst you may kind of look at the scheme of things and say I invest or spend a lot of time in this or waste a lot of time in this, perhaps it's creative output for you. You know, it's something. Sometimes we've got to get out of our kind of robot mode or the auto mode that we have of business, or this, just to allow a little bit more space for other things to come in that will allow us to maybe do things a little bit more innovatively or differently. Maybe that release is when you can be more creative. I mean, I get this picture of you making cakes and designing them with glitter and stuff like this.
Yeah, that's not me. It's the way.
Okay, well, someone else can bake the cake, but I want to design it. I want to color it in, kind of thing. It's that, you know, these kind of outlets. And the reason I raise that is that it's one of the things about the balance that you were talking about in terms of your life with your work, but I think there's also going to be these outlet balances that you've got to have. You just can't be grinding on the same thing all the time, because the monogamy of it will just become boring. So I'm kind of moving from systems more into sort of time management here. How just in the world of Amanda C. Watts and your business, how much do you flit in and out of different roles and different activities in any one particular day? Do you have like allotted times, or do you just move with it as it goes?
If I muck up and I go into different things, it's such a wasted day. So what I do is, for example, if I need to record a video, I do that before 10 o'clock in the morning so that it's done. So I wake up, kids go to school, then it's like, right, I have a cup of tea. Sometimes Matthew and I, what we do is we walk to the local Waitrose, go and get a cup of tea and walk back, so get fresh air to start the day. It's lovely, the joys of being an entrepreneur. Come back, I will record the video. I have allotted days for coaching calls. So I have coaching calls on Tuesdays and on Thursdays. On a Wednesday, I tend not to have anything, and on a Friday, I tend not to have anything. So it's very easy for us on Friday because it's completely free. And that's free for me to create marketing, do things like this, or have a day off if I want to. But it is very allotted. And if I have a day of coaching calls, then don't expect me to answer emails because I'm...
And I love that. You see, the reason I bring that to you is I think sometimes we become victims of our own sort of spinning plate syndromes. That I've got to spin the marketing plate, spin the creative plate, spin this plate. Whereas what you're actually suggesting here is that having that structure within your week means that the things that you're going to get done, prioritize them. And I love the way that when you have your coaching calls, because it is your customer, it's your your coachee or your client who's it's their world at that moment in time. The fact that you don't respond to emails and stuff like that just means that you're straight in the zone for this. So I guess the point, the things that I wanted to get out from that is very much that people who are out there feeling like they are busy, because a lot of time when asked the question, how are you doing, it's you're busy. Yeah, you're busy doing what? Going in and out of different things,
exactly. Right? That's right, exactly. And I think that's very clear. Like this morning I did a post about Black Friday, and it was completely the opposite to what many people did. And it wasn't actually agreeing with Black Friday for us coaches and consultants. I think it's very wrong. And because I did that and I knew it was slightly controversial, I actually wasted an hour of my day because I kept checking Facebook to see what people were saying. And I think that this is what so many new entrepreneurs do, is they get really excited because I do tell people, create content, it's really important, but then you're addicted to what people are going to say and how many likes it has and what people do. So you have to be really super strict around that as well. And sometimes when I do something, I go off the strictness because I want to see what people are saying. But, we're only human.
Well, that only just goes back to the point that you made, that freedom only comes from control. So if you can control that term, if it's by your standard, if it's okay to let go, then it's okay to let go. I think this is the point the part that I think sometimes would be, should be, and could be entrepreneurs kind of often miss. When we say live life on your terms, do the things that you want to do. Again, I know other entrepreneurs who they only work when they feel they're on fire. So in the fact that when they feel they're the most productive, that's when they do the work. So even if they're doing an 18-hour marathon of work, they're doing it when they're the most productive. The part where they feel they're unproductive, or they're distracted, or they're not feeling the energy, they go off and watch a movie or go to the cinema, or like you do. There's quite a lot of you guys getting out for walks and stuff like that. Everyone I've interviewed goes out for walks. I think I need to go out for walks, actually.
I actually really agree with that. What's the point in sitting in front of your desk? We're not in the corporate world. We don't have to be here. And what's the point in not doing your best work? I love that. I don't know other people that do that. That's great that you've had conversations with people, because that isn't hustling. That is actually working in your unique zone of genius. And when you're not in that unique zone of genius, going out and just finding creativity in other ways. It's great. Love
brilliant.
it.
No, exactly that. And I think that kind of also epitomizes the whole thing of your freedompreneur thing, is freedom of choice, freedom of time, freedom of space, freedom of life, freedom of rewards, all of these kind of elements. But it's using the entrepreneurial sort of line for a business to generate your income that will allow you to sustain those kind of that kind of thing. I absolutely love that. My God, we're almost out of time. We're running about like 9 minutes left. Guys, I know Steve Clark's watching. Steve, how you doing? It's good to see you finally on one of my Facebook lives. Paresh Davadra, for those of you who don't know him, CEO of Rational FX. He's his business partner is actually the deputy mayor, so it's great to have you on as well. I want to get to that last part from your book, which is measures. I think this one's a really important one, and that's why I'm so pleased that we've kind of left this almost to the last end of this this call. Measures. Why is it so important that we have measures? How do we build these kind of measures, and what are we looking at when we're measuring? Three questions which I find most people don't really know how to answer. So over to you.
Okay, so an example. The past week we've spent £300 on Facebook advertising. Okay, it hasn't worked. So that whole week what we've done is we've been measuring it and tweaking it and trying to work out what is working and where it's failing. So what's happening is we've measured that people are clicking through to the lead page, but the lead page isn't working. So that's what needs tweaking. And it's literally about analysing every teeny tiny action that you do with your marketing and seeing if it's giving you a return on your investment. So us doing these Facebook, so you're doing all of these lovely Facebook lives and interviewing people.
Yes.
What I need to see is I'm going to measure the success and whether any business comes off the back of it. So I did an interview with Michael Serwer, and I know that interview was so good that it solidifies interest. So when we have a prospect, I send that through, they watch it, and it's work. So I've measured that was definitely a worthwhile investment in my time. So everything that you do, people are doing Facebook lives every day. Are they measuring? Is it getting them any business? Do they know where their business is coming from? You know, that's what you have to do. I know how much a lead costs me, and if I don't know how much that lead costs me, I'm not happy with myself. Control freak, that's what I've said.
Well, no, I think it's very important. In terms of the measurement tools, I mean, I know that this is kind of a corporate measure, because we used to do a lot of that, having KPIs and then performance indicators and then understanding the process. But when you are if you are in a business that's very young and emerging, or if it's so important that you understand the cost acquisition of your customer. It takes how long does it take, what is it taking investment, because some people think,